No, and I think whoever's been briefing this has been watching too much Celebrity Traitors, and this is just about the worst attack on a faithful I've seen since Joe Marler was kicked out and banished in the final. It's totally self-defeating briefing, not least because it's not true. And I don't understand how anyone thinks it's helpful to the Prime Minister either to suggest he's fighting for his job at a time when, last time I saw him on Monday evening to talk about violence against women and girls and how we tackle it, he's fighting for the country and trying to turn it around from the absolute mess that we inherited.
So what's your message then to people who have been briefing this? What would you say to them?
Well, firstly, I'd like to commend them for at least taking on board the feedback about sexist briefings, because we've seen this before. Lucy Powell, Bridget Phillipson, Angela Rayner could go around pretty much the entire cabinet table. So at least they're picking on one of the boys now. But in all seriousness, it doesn't help anyone. It's not true. But the point is, these sorts of Westminster bubble process stories, boys getting carried away, these are things that distract from our ability to get across the message of the change we're making, the difference we're making on things that voters actually care about.
There's a few specific allegations about you that have been put out in the last 24 hours. I want to put them to you directly. Firstly, there's the Times. Downing Street figures suspect that Streeting could demand the Prime Minister's resignation in the days after the budget. Are you going to rule that out?
Yes. And nor did I shoot JFK. I don't know where Lord Lucan is. Had nothing to do with Shergar. And I do think that the US did manage to do the moon landings. I don't think they were faked, certainly not by me.
What about after the local elections next year? Is that a point when, if you do badly, if you lose in Wales, that it could be time for a change at the top?
Well, I'm not planning for us to do badly. In Scotland, we've got a dynamic leader.
Can you rule it out? Can you rule it out demanding the Prime Minister's resignation?
I'm not going in to demand the Prime Minister's resignation. I support the Prime Minister. I have done since he was elected leader of the Labour Party. I didn't vote for him in the leadership election, but I did support him from the moment he was elected. And I supported him all the way through at points when he did things that no one thought was possible. They didn't think he could turn around the Labour Party. He did. They didn't think he could win a general election. He did. People are now questioning whether he can change the country. He will. But I suppose the tragedy is everything I've just said about Keir's record, about confounding his critics, are things that I have said regularly and repeatedly whenever I've been asked questions about how he's doing or how the government's doing.
So you haven't had
only thing that this has achieved is distracting me from talking about the fact that when the Prime Minister and I announced we were going to abolish NHS England, reduce the size of my department, the NHS, by 50%,
you will talk about
and cut through layers of management bureaucracy, lots of people said, well, this isn't going to happen.
Have you had any conversations with anyone about getting rid of Keir Starmer?
No, and I tell you what I think this does show is that when Lucy Powell stood to be deputy leader of the Labour Party and said there needed to be a culture change in how we lead and how the party is managed, I think she has been vindicated.
Is it rotten? Do you think there's a rotten culture?
No, I wouldn't go that. No, and I'm not going to give whoever's behind this any more kind of oxygen and credit. I do think that going out and calling your Labour MPs feral is not very helpful. I do think that trying to kneecap one of your own team when they are out, not just making the case for the government, but actually delivering the change that we promised, I think that is also self-defeating and self-destructive behaviour. I also think whoever did this doesn't speak for the Prime Minister. I speak for the Prime Minister. That's why I was asked to come on this morning to talk about the reform agenda in the NHS. I think the reassurance there, and you mentioned the budget, and the Chancellor does have a really difficult job, and she is having to weigh up some choices that she knows will be unpopular, but she thinks they're right. And it's my responsibility to make sure that as well as that extra £26 billion that's going into the NHS, we're also spending every single penny that's already there. Because I know that taxpayers are having to make sacrifices. I know that people are paying a lot and have been paying a high price for Conservative failure. It's our job now to turn it around.